Hello FlossTube, this is Dina. I'm back for my third video. This one will be a short one. I've heard some comments on FlossTube about people saying if you don't like hauls, fast forward, or that some viewers apparently don't enjoy seeing what you've purchased. So I apologize if that is a problem for you. Certainly you can fast forward for now, but it's a very small haul. And it's basically to talk about a new skill that I'm hoping to learn in cross stitch, something that was brand new to me. I had never seen it before, but I watched Carolyn Mazio and Pyrex Stitcher's year-end 2015 reviews, and both of the wonderful ladies had many cards in their finished objects for the year. And I saw some of the beautiful work that they were producing, and I said, I want to try that. I've never cross-stitched a card before. And I heard that Carolyn had a tool she said she used. So I went online, I went to Nordic Needle and selected a perforating tool and to punch the card holes with, and that has come in. I want to open this and start using it, so I wanted to go ahead and film it for you and show you what I had gotten to make the cards with. It was very simple to get started. It was the punch, and I went ahead and picked up pricking pads. There are two in here, and you can use one at a time, or for a larger piece, it gives you two so you can have room for the whole paper. They're both 6 by 9, and they're a 1/4 inch thick, and it indicates here you can use one, or you can stack them both up for extra padding, but I think it's more so to protect your surface underneath what you're pricking than to do anything else. But I got the pricking pad to go with that. To help me get started, I picked out a book called Endless Embroidery on Paper, and it's very pretty, and this has a pretty picture of a card on the back and a card on the front I wanted to share with you, and has the instructions for how to do these various stitches, how to punch, and how the stitches are done. These are instructions. This isn't a pattern, it's instructions. And I thought, looks pretty good. Looks like I should be able to learn from this. All of the cards that they show in here, and there's some beautiful cards in here, have embellishments. I didn't know that when I picked this book out. There's some that have quite a bit of stitching, and then there's some that have just borders that are stitched, if you can see that. But aren't they beautiful? And I'm sure at scrapbooking you can find all the sorts of embellishments that you might need to put on the card. I thought, wow, that's interesting. I'm so looking forward to trying this. It isn't exactly the style that I thought I was selecting. I thought I was getting all stitching. This gives me a whole new dimension to look into, and I'm kind of excited about sharing that. But if any of you have good resources for patterns for cards that you wouldn't mind sharing with me as far as how to find them or where to find them, I'd greatly appreciate that. This is something I would really like to try. I'll hope I have some to share with you pretty soon. Since I went ahead and placed an order with Nordic Needle, you know, to take advantage of the fact that you're paying for shipping, I got a few other things that I'll share with you just very briefly. The first one is a Stitcher's Journal, and they had this on their website there, and I thought, what a nice idea. I've seen several floss tubers making their journals and writing in their journals about plans and things like that. And what I found is that this one, the inside of this one, is set up very similar to the project cards that Carolyn showed on one of her videos as to how she keeps her records of all of her projects and her details. And I was doing them on 3x5 cards until I could find a better system. So I will transfer everything I have so far, which is just about 4 or 5 projects that I've been doing since I've been looking at FlossTube, and I'll put them in my journal and keep my journal until it runs out. But I thought that was really cute, and I'm so excited that I have it now. I can fill it in. Haven't got too far ahead that I can't catch up. Another new thing that I learned from floss tubers were Q-snap covers, or Grom Guards, I think is what I'm hearing them called more commonly. So I had to get a couple because I love my Q-snaps. I got an 8x11 that's in green, and an 8x8 that's in blue, And I'm excited about that. And I've noticed some of you are making your own, so I may have to look at these real carefully and see if I can't figure out how to do that myself. But I'm excited that I have some now. I will start using those on my 2 projects that I have in my whips right now. Another item I went ahead and updated, I've been using for years, and that is a count ruler, a stitch count ruler. The ones that I'm using now are a white plastic. They're fairly long, and they're hinged together. And I think I have 4 sides that are Aida, and the other 4 sides are for linen. But I only have 4 sizes of linen. And I'm finding that I'm using a size that isn't on there quite frequently. When I saw these, there was 2 things I was excited about. They're clear, and this has got white paper behind it. I left it in the package so you could see the actual plastic counter there. But they're clear, so you can actually see your fabric and stitches while you're trying to count them instead of having to put the ruler below them. So this should give me better visibility. I'm excited about that. And these have a 36 count, which I didn't have on my other ruler. So that's why I'm excited about it. It went up to 32 on the other one, and this one goes all the way up to 36. I'm happy that I can replace my older rulers and keep them as a spare in my stash. So now I have to give another shout out to Carolyn Mazio. I may make a video someday, Carolyn, where I don't actually mention your name, but I haven't done it yet. So this is the Petite Braid color card that you recommended in one of your videos, and I got mine from Nordic Needle. I am so excited. So now I can sub out these treasure braids for the dreaded metallics that I have in my stash that fray so badly. I haven't heard too many people on FlossTube in love with them. So I'm hoping that I don't shock anybody by saying I don't care for them much either. But now I have my color card that I can swap them out and match them up, and I'm excited about that. The last thing that I got from my Nordic Needle purchase is Stitchery Tape. I ordered this with 2 purposes in mind. One was the cards that I'm thinking of making. The first idea I had was if I stitch a very small picture on Aida, I can use this double-sided tape to attach the Aida to my card stock and make a card that way. And that's something I knew I could do regardless. The other reason I have it is that I've been watching some of you on FlossTube with your own framing. The fact that you are finishing your own pieces in framing them yourself is so impressive to me. I'm scared of it. I'm trying to build up the nerve to try it, even on a small piece. And I thought if I have everything I need, I'm more likely to try it than if I think about it and have to order everything and wait on it. I have the Stitchery Tape now. The Stitchery Tape was the one thing I knew I would need. And now I'm going to sit down and watch some of your tutorials, probably several times before I attempt it on my own. But I did want to thank you all for inspiring me to even consider doing that, because I think I can afford to frame a lot more items if I can do it myself. And you all have done such cute things and framed them so cleverly. I'm looking forward to that, and I wanted to thank you for inspiring me to at least consider it. Another idea I wanted to share with you today would be to talk about stitching from our stashes. I've seen quite a few people reference that in their videos, that there's a challenge going on in one of the groups that you are going to stitch from your stash for about 6 months, I think, until June. And it can be done, especially if you've been stitching for a while and you have any kind of a stash built up at all. And I say that from experience. So I thought it would be fun to look back over last year or so when I had made the decision to do that before I ever found FlossTube, and just share with you my journey on stitching from my stash. I got the idea as a gift from my sister when I realized I had one pillow form in my stash that was about a 16 by 16 pillow. And I wanted to make a pretty accent pillow for my sister as a gift, but it was hard to pick one theme or one pillow cover that I wanted to make. So I got the idea of a series, one per month. Pick a topic, a picture that represented the holiday in that month or something that was special to her. Then stitch it and make it up into a pillow cover. And I made the pillow cover with just an opening in the back where the back panels overlapped by about 4 inches so that it was easy enough to open up and just pop the pillow right out. No zippers, didn't make it hard on me to sew. That way each month the pillow cover could be changed out for the next month. So I'm going to take a little time here just in the next few minutes, and I will go and gather up all of the patterns that I used out of my stash to make each month, and I'll show each one to you. And then I'll have to insert a picture of my sister holding up the pillowcase for that month, because I've already given them to her and she's been using them. I will say from this process that I discovered that even though all the pillow covers were 16 by 16, so they were uniform in size, the pictures I selected to cross stitch were not uniform in size. I wasn't limited to that, and I really didn't think about that in the beginning, as long as it would fit on the front of the pillow. But what I figured out very quickly is that because they were different, I had to recalculate the front of the pillow each time I made it. The back could be a square, but the front I had to determine based on the size of my finished picture how wide I was going to make the margins or the strip for the tops and the sides of the front of the pillowcase. In the future, if I ever do a series like this again, and it was great fun, I very well may, I am going to try to at least determine the opening that can be stitched, so that any pattern I pick, I'm going to have to use fabric where I can fit that picture in that space. And that way I can assembly line the making of the pillowcases. I can make all of the border for the front the same size, and then I can make the backs the same size, and it'll be easy to stitch them up once I make them. Thought you might enjoy seeing how I stitched from my stash. So I've come to my sewing room where I've been searching through all my stash of patterns to find the 12 different patterns that I stitched for her, since it's been a little while since I finished those and gave them to her. I am glad to report that I have been able to find all but one of the original patterns, so I'll just tell you about the first one, and then I'll show the rest of them to you as we go, and I'll insert the pictures of each of the pillow covers and tell you a little bit about each one as we talk about it. Let's start with January. I'll insert the picture here. You'll see that there are 3 dancing bunnies. They have ice skates on, and they are in the snow. The background fabric that I had chosen is for a wintry sky, and it looks like it has snowflakes in it to me, even though they're different colors. And I thought that would represent the January time frame very well. For February, since it included Valentine's Day, I did a Merry Engelbreit cross stitch, and I don't want to show you the pattern, so I'll just show you the magazine cover. And this is her picture here as she's handing her heart to you, saying, "Here." I didn't use all of the background and the border when I made the pillow cover, because I wanted the fabric to represent the border and background for that. So I'll insert a picture of the finished pillow now. As you can see, I was able to find fabric that had red hearts on it that were just about the exact size of the heart in the cross stitch picture. I was very happy to do that. I thought that turned out pretty well. For March, I found a beautiful poem, and it's an Irish blessing. And I'll read the Irish blessing to you. It says, "Search though I might o'er land and sea I'd never find anyone sweeter than thee, by Sean O'Leary. And now I'll insert a picture of the completed pillow cover. I found fabric that I felt had the same color scheme as the flowers. I felt like it complemented the front pretty well for March. The next month is April, and April is generally when we have Easter holiday. So I had a picture here of three bunnies. There are actually 2 bunnies and a bear who wants to be a bunny. I hope you can see that okay. But the wording on the picture says, "Everybunny's welcome." And this is from Alma Lynne's Country Cross Stitch book that I've had for many, many years. I'll insert a copy of that picture for you now. For May, I went with the saying that April showers bring May flowers, and I did sort of what I'm hearing described now as a black work, and this is a pattern by the name of Judith's Garden. The design is by Winslow, and I found my copy of that in Cross Stitcher magazine, and this was February of 2005. So I'll insert a copy of the final pillow cover for that month as well. Then comes the month of June, and June, it's actually their wedding anniversary as well. So this is the original pattern, little his and her bunnies. The little boy bunny has on a bow tie. I thought that was so cute. And this is from Leisure Arts, the magazine. It is an April 1988 issue, so I'm not sure anybody else can find that unless you have it in your stash. But that is where I got that from. And the designer is Frankie, Frankie, Buckley. And I'll show you a copy now of the final product for the pillow cover that I did for Stephanie for that. So that brings us to July. 4th of July, of course, is a popular month. This is the picture I chose for the 4th of July. Love the little bunny rabbit there at the parade with her flag. And again, this pattern that I have is from Alma Lynne's Country Cross Stitch. And I was able to find a beautiful fabric that I felt was very patriotic. And I'll show you a picture now of that pillow cover. This month, of course, is August, and I have a pattern here that I thought was really sweet. There's a cornfield right across the street from her house, so I picked this little pattern here of a little girl sitting on the fence looking out over the fields of the crops growing and looking in the sky. And you may not be able to tell it from here, but the clouds are shaped like little animals. I thought that was really, really sweet. This is a Leisure Arts publication. It's called Sweet Sayings. It's licensed by Susanne Cruiz. So I'm not sure if that's if she's the only artist in there or not, but that's the name that I have here on the pattern, and I'll show you what that finished pillowcase looks like. Brings us to September. I used a pattern called Scarecrow Sweetie, and this pattern is in a book entitled Something for Every Season, and this is the photograph here of the picture that I used. I again elected not to put the border around the picture since I was looking at the fabric to be my border, but that gives you the little scarecrow and pumpkins that you're going to see. And here's the finished product. That brings us to October and Halloween. We have Halloween hobgoblins here. This is shown on a sweatshirt in the picture, but I put mine on the pillow top. I love the little tennis shoes there with the shoestrings all cattywampus. And this is again from Something for Every Season. This is the picture that I used to cross stitch for November. Notice the pumpkin in the center here. Right there. Got to find the camera. I had to switch to my laptop. I used part of this picture here, left off a lot of the border, but used it to create the pillow top for November. And then the last pillow top that I made, I want to give you the original picture for that as well. It's called a Holiday Goose. Here. And it is part of Alma Lynne's Country Cross Stitch again. And I'll show you that final pillow top to end our little stroll down memory lane with my stitching from my stash. Now I'd like to share with you my work in progress. This work in progress is known as The Wedding. I started this a couple of weeks ago as my new start. And I wanted to go ahead and give you an idea of where I am on it today. This is the one that I gridded, and I promised I would let you know how I liked the gridding effect once I started stitching on it. And so far, I really, really like it. It may be impacted by the fact that this pattern instructs you to stitch differently than I've ever been instructed to stitch before. It actually tells you to stitch cross-country every color in the entire pattern except white. There's a lot of white in the dress. So every color that's not white, you stitch all the way across once. Then, when you finish it, you flip the pattern over, and it has another pattern, the same picture, but all the white is indicated as well as everything else. So then you go back and you fill in where all the white should be. I'm hoping that this will create an appearance that all of these little shades that I'm putting in, the little small pieces, I don't know if you can see them well, in her dress, that they will actually become shadowy looking because the white will be stitched on top. I'm hoping that happens. Anyway, because of having to do that and stitching these little pieces all throughout here, this grid has become invaluable. I would be counting and counting and counting and counting otherwise. I must say, if I'm going to do a large picture like this that has open space, or I have to cross-country stitch this way for any reason, I will probably grid it. Smaller projects, not so much, but I will do that. I also did a first on here. In addition to gridding, another first is the skin, and I did the skin 1/1 instead of 2/2. It is really pretty. I like it. I've never done that before, but I'd heard several of you floss tubers commenting on that, and I decided I would do that. So now it's time to put that whip down for a couple of weeks and work on something else. So let's talk about that for a moment. I had decided that I was going to do a 4-week rotation, and then it went to 2 whips because I wanted to get them done, one in June and one in December, and they were big and they were going to take about 2 weeks each every month. But after doing that for the last 2 weeks and realizing that I was going to pick up another big complicated piece for the next 2 weeks, I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to do that. So I've changed my mind. I'm going to be working on a new start in the coming week, or on one of my whips that I can't share with everyone yet because they're gifts. But either way, I'm not going to be working on 2 projects 2 weeks at a time. Now that I've started having a small rotation, I've decided I enjoy it. That's all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed looking back through my stitching through my stash with me and seeing my whip that I had to share with you today. As always, I hope each and every one of you have a great day stitching.